I'm pleased to be here and accept the precious gift of the panda. I'm so glad that this delegation could come here to the United States and enjoy some of our hospitality just as we enjoyed that in their country. And I do appreciate them taking such good care of the pandas on the long trip and after they arrived here at their new home. Here at the National Zoo, they will be enjoyed by the millions of people who come from across the country to visit the nation's capital each year. We, too, want to express appreciation for all of the hospitality that you have given us there in your country, and we wish all your people well, and thank you very much for this lovely photo album of the pandas, and for this beautiful picture, and best of all for the gift of the pandas, which all children, whatever age, will enjoy, and I include myself in that category. I noticed Dr. Ripley is wearing a panda tie, and I have my panda pin, I'll have you know. And I think pandemonium is going to break out right here at the zoo.
How did these furry diplomats change history? The use of panda diplomacy by China in 1972 was a turning point for opening China to the world stage and making it the economic, industrial, and military superpower it is today. Until the mid-1900s, China was predominantly an agrarian nation. China struggled to compete as Europe's wealth, colonies, and industry flourished. China's national identity was weakened due to drug smuggling, warring with Japan, civil conflict regarding communism, and economic problems. One example of China's struggles was the First Opium War, when opium produced in British Indian colonies was smuggled into China illegally. Great Britain defeated China in that conflict and obtained Hong Kong as a British colony. This was significant because China lost control of one of their most valuable territories. Moreover, China faced ongoing conflicts with Japan. In 1931, Japan invaded Manchuria in order to fuel industrialization. The Japanese invasion inevitably evolved into war. Japan ultimately lost the war with China in 1945, leaving China in devastation, with 15 million Chinese military and civilians dead. The Japan War created economic hardships with extreme inflation, caused by the Japanese printing of counterfeit fobi and Japanese puppet banks in China, which issued their own local currencies, ultimately depreciating the value of fobi. Additionally, China experienced civil war for nearly 13 years in the wake of World War II, resulting in communist rule in 1949 that caused more economic turmoil and political unrest that persisted into the 1970s, as China was still often excluded from world affairs during the mid-20th century. In order to stabilize the Chinese economy and grow as a superpower, they needed to adopt new tactics to create amicable relations with other developed nations. The biggest way the Chinese government accomplished this was through panda diplomacy, the use of China's giant pandas being traded throughout the world as a means to have peaceful exchanges with other nations. Some of these nations include the Soviet Union, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, the United States of America, and the United Kingdom. While utilized during much earlier dynasties, one of the most significant uses of panda diplomacy came in 1972, after a meeting between Nixon, his wife, and the chairman of the Communist Party, Mao Zedong. President Nixon saw the meeting as an opportunity to warm relations between the United States and China during the Cold War. They attended a state dinner where Lady Nixon mentioned her fondness of pandas. This led to the top diplomat Zhou Enlai offering to give 2 pandas to the U.S. as a representation of peace. In return, the U.S. gifted to China 2 musk oxen named Milton and Matilda as a sign of goodwill. The 2 pandas given to the United States by China, Sing Sing and Ling Ling, arrived at the Smithsonian National Zoo on April 16th of 1972, marking a turning point in history. By gifting the pandas, there was a hope to begin a more amicable diplomatic exchange with the United States. Ultimately, this tactic benefited Chinese welfare by promoting a more positive Chinese world image, developing protection and conservation of pandas, and expanding economic gains. Sing Sing and Ling Ling were originally gifted, but all future pandas were loaned to the US, and therefore still property of China. This gave perceived power to the Chinese by allowing them to reclaim their pandas in times of diplomatic conflict, thereby establishing an upper hand in US and Chinese relations, or at the very least upsetting the American public who enjoyed seeing these lovable creatures. Pandas are symbols of love and friendship, and by sharing them with other countries, the Chinese aim to signify that they are not communist enemies. The Chinese use pandas to invoke joyful feelings, goodwill, and promote a perception of a peaceful worldview. As an example, China is succeeding at promoting a more positive worldview by leading the world in diplomatic embassies, with a total of 274 posts worldwide, substantially more than the 120 the Chinese had in 1979. Additionally, the 1972 turning point benefited China in that more effort was put forth to help conserve pandas. Pandas living in other countries have teams that work to support and research in order to preserve them. Furthermore, the Chinese have set new conservation efforts in place, such as creating more reserves for pandas in China and providing many villages with alternative energy sources to protect panda habitats. Many Clean Air Acts over the past 10 years help reduce pollution and provide a better chance at safer livelihoods, both for the people and pandas of China. These efforts continue to show that pandas have grown in importance to the Chinese since the start of panda diplomacy. Furthermore, panda diplomacy as a turning point helped Chinese economics flourish even today. Economic growth in China was impacted partially by the panda effect, a term coined by Nankai University students in a preliminary study of panda's impact on Chinese economics. Panda diplomacy was studied from 1957 to 2017. They posited that the Sichuan province, home of the panda bear, experienced more promotion of trade after the start of panda diplomacy. Additionally, after the first set of pandas sent in 1972, China began essentially renting pandas to the US for cash. Individual loaned pandas are worth from $500,000 to $1 million per year, adding additional revenue for the Chinese economy. On a larger scale, this is evident even now in that China is the world's second largest economy, with a total number of Chinese exports which stands at $3.73 trillion as of 2022, up considerably from $232 billion in 1970. Despite overwhelming positive benefits of panda diplomacy, some controversies regarding panda diplomacy do exist. Some Americans argue that the use of pandas softens Chinese authoritarian image and makes people forget that China is a dictatorship violating human rights. Another concern regarding trading pandas is that protection and loaning of pandas may become less about science and more about China's leverage of power. In 2023, abuse allegations regarding a panda Yaya at the Memphis Zoo shocked the world. Perhaps there is a need for balance in education in America regarding the ongoing effects of panda diplomacy. Pandas are native to China exclusively, with less than 2,500 pandas worldwide, including captive and wild. All pandas today are property of the Chinese government. China's primary reason to use this most valuable resource diplomatically stemmed initially from threats of Western industrialization, the Sino-Japanese War, and the Cold War. The ongoing use of pandas since 1972 to gain diplomatic leverage is evidenced even in modern times when China recalls pandas when diplomatic tensions arise. Most recently in the US, pandas were recalled over human rights abuse allegations, trade disputes, and disagreements over Taiwan's sovereignty. As of February 22, 2024, the only pandas left in the United States resided in the Atlanta Zoo. By removing pandas, China signaled that Chinese-US relations have weakened. On a positive note, pandas will be returning to the US during the summer of 2024 in hopes to ease tensions over the ongoing trade disputes and recent spy allegations. No doubt, pandas will continue to serve as fuzzy ambassadors for future generations as they continue to facilitate China's diplomatic power worldwide.